Hello again, everyone. Welcome to episode number 2 of Gaming on the Brain podcast. As always, I'm here with Glenn, and we'd like to give you a big hello.
Hello.
Today's episode is all about a Sega System 24 game, which is, Glenn?
Classic called Crackdown.
Is it really a classic?
Well, it is in my eyes. Some would say it's not, but it's still a fantastic game.
It's a bit lesser known, isn't it?
Well, that's what I suppose we'll all have to discuss at some point.
But that's what we're here today for, because we're going to hopefully make it more known.
Yes.
So after today's episode, you'll know all about Crackdown, and you'll go and want to play it, and then you can come back and give us your comments about what you thought about it. Personally, we like it. Some of us more than others, I would have said.
Yeah.
But it's a bloody good game.
And it's a memory.
It's worth the 25 minutes or so it takes to get through. So go and give it a try. But so that was a quick introduction to today's episode. We do actually have a comment, our first comment, and it is from Freddie Ternikov, and he gave us a comment saying, "Great opening, theme and soundtrack." So Freddie, I just want to say a big thank you to your feedback, and please keep listening. And
thank you, Freddie.
Everyone else, get your comments across. We will be reading them out in the introductions, and we look forward to having that engagement with you guys. And look, we hope you enjoyed today's episode, and please stick around. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Take care.
You go gaming on the brain.
Welcome back, everyone, to Gaming on the Brain podcast. Today's episode is all about the Sega System 24 game Crackdown. I think we're going to try and give you a little bit of information now around the hardware. So the Sega System 24, Crackdown in particular, was a hybrid floppy disk jammer game. There was a lot of other games, well, not a lot, quite a few other games, Glenn, wasn't on the System 24.
There was I'll mention a couple of games of note. We had Bonanza Brothers, which to me is actually more of a side view version of Crackdown anyway. And since it came out later, it could be considered a semi-sequel. And there was also Gain Ground, which was a very unusual kind of vertical shooter, but more of a thinking man's strategic shooter. Some liked it, some didn't, but it was an unusual game at the time. But they're two games that have always stuck out to me in the hardware.
Tell you what, another one I was thinking of was the Scramble Spirits.
Scramble Spirits, which I had on the Master System. Actually, quite like that game as well.
That was a good vertical shooter, wasn't it?
Good graphics and good. Some call it mediocre in the arcade, and it didn't really have anything majorly new at that time. But it did come out in 1988.
Yeah.
But it may have actually been the first of these System 24 releases, I think. And it's still quite a beautiful looking game as well. Good shooters, great looking bosses, and that very vanilla shooter, vertical shooter of the time, but did nothing wrong and did everything that it did perfectly, basically.
Now, one of the things that's notable about the System 24 hardware is it runs on a higher resolution monitor.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's quite noticeable in the sprite work.
In the sprite work, I was going to say, definitely, I was going to use that word as well. For Crackdown, Crackdown in particular, it's quite a stunning looking game. I mean, as well, to have such small sprites, detailed sprites for the characters as well, but everything just pops for many people who see it. It's got it uses it's using an actual 3.5 floppy disk to coexist with the PCB as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's, if I remember right, it's something to do with like a security check as well, to make sure that the hardware is correct to the disk that's
like
running
a
as well.
Check or something like that.
So you couldn't just put, say, Scrambled Spirits or the Gain Grounds disk into the disk drive and play it. You'd need to have a security check on the system and in the board itself to be able to tell that it was actually Crackdown that was running.
Just going back to the additional detail on screen, that you could probably compare it to SD and HD in regards to what you see on a typical arcade monitor.
In this day and age, I mean, I've seen, well, me and you have seen an actual Crackdown cabinet running. We've seen maybe 2, possibly 3 tops. I've definitely seen 2. and it's quite a magnificent looking machine, to be quite honest.
It is. It's a big glorified machine.
Yeah,
A big cabinet, isn't
you know, and I mean it's quite loud as well. Again, that beautiful Sega music that you've got there going. But the sprites, despite what the type of game it is, are quite big and quite detailed. I mean, you can make out little facial expressions and things on the enemy soldiers and that, you know. There's the animations give it quite a lot of mannerisms and quite a lot of character to the individual enemies that you face in the game, and there's quite a few, which we'll obviously get to in time. But yeah, it's quite a stunning game and another of our favourites.
So this game released in 1989 in the arcades. I think we're seeing a Mega Drive port. Was it 1990?
1990 for the port, yeah. Which
Mega Drive port,
yeah, a good game.
Yeah, it's decent.
The Mega Drive game, it's a good game. It's very slightly disappointing in some ways, which I'll get to quickly. But it was a bit like our Golden Axe segment actually. Crackdown on the Mega Drive was the game I played first before the arcade version, before I actually moved on to the arcade game. And the Mega Drive game has very small sprites. I mean, obviously, you probably at that time in 1990, 1991, you would have been playing on maybe a 16 to 18 inch colour TV, you know. But everything is on a much smaller scale, and it's not as good a port to its arcade version as, say, Golden Axe is, but it does create its own little surprises here and there. It does have a few little, like a couple of extra enemies which weren't in the arcade, and a completely different level at one point, and even the levels that do still exist that have been converted from the arcade version have some rewrites and some new areas in, just to give it a little bit of just to make it a little bit more of its own experience over the arcade machine. I
remember playing the Mega Drive version and thinking it was a good port, but it didn't quite hold up to the arcade standard.
No, it wouldn't, no. There's no extra material as well in the Mega Drive version other than the different level, really.
It did come out in Europe and America as well, didn't
All three territories for Crackdown,
I keep thinking for some reason it was Japan only, but I must have had a Japanese card.
I remember buying my original Japanese version from a computer shop in the town, and I held on to that game for about 4 years before I actually owned a Mega Drive. I loved it that much at the time that I had to have the game before I even had the console. We were still playing the NES, if you remember, I think. We might have still had the Amiga even, or the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
But we had that cartridge. I remember lending it out once or twice before getting it back and finally getting the place.
I remember you had that a long time
for, I think.
Yeah. I tell you what, Glenn, one thing that's puzzling me on is I can't find the correct shaped hole to put Crackdown in as a genre.
Right.
I'm a little bit shook.
This is a fantastic thing to ask. Right? It's a fantastic question, because now I've read a review in Zap magazine, which anyone in the UK will know was a fantastic computer magazine which covered Commodore 64 back in the early 80s to late 80s, and then moved into Amiga as well. So you'll know that magazine. But my first experience of a review was for the Amiga and Commodore 64 version, and they compared it to Gauntlet. In fact, the exact words were a souped up Gauntlet. And even though if you were to look at the perspective of the game, you could say, well, from a distance it could be compared to Gauntlet, I mean, but it's a completely different game, completely different. I mean, maybe I might be pushing it to stretch a little bit here, but I've played, I mean, hopefully anyone listening to this is aware that Metal Gear Solid isn't the start of the Metal Gear series, but Metal Gear actually goes all the way back to the mid-80s for the MSX and the NES later on, which was probably slightly more well-known, but not as good as the MSX game, but that's by the by. But Crackdown, to me...
It's got stealth elements.
It's got a lot of stealth elements, and I've always felt that if Metal Gear 1 had been adapted to the arcades, that's what you get. And looking at Konami as a company, just for a second, I don't like to move away from Sega right now, but looking at Konami as a company creating a Castlevania version adapted from the NES, that's probably where they would have went with a Metal Gear arcade machine. And I love Crackdown's stealth elements, because they don't push it too far down your neck that you absolutely have to follow them. You can go in gung-ho to some extent, but there is a lot of puzzle elements and a lot of very skillful areas where you do need to really use your head a little bit and your joystick, because if you don't, you'll get killed. And the thing about Crackdown as well, anyone who's played it knows that you've got to plant the bombs in the level to actually complete a level. And if you plant all the bombs and then you still run out of time, you'll lose a life, but you'll move on to the next level. But if you don't plant all the bombs, then you start on that level again. So even if anyone out there is playing it on MAME, then obviously you will need to complete that. You will need to at least complete that part of the level, that element of the level, planting the bombs before you can even move on. So in some levels, the bombs are quite well hidden. There is a map, but they're quite well hidden. But you need to be able to do that.
There's a couple of times when I've been playing through and I've missed the bomb, got all the way to the end of the level,
and you
get what you thought was the
last.
You
get the message.
bomb,
you get the message.
Like,
pops.
Oh, where's the message? So you've got to look at the map, go all the way back, and it can be a pain in the backside. You can miss them, even though there's big arrows pointing at
14, aren't we?
Well, few. But the plot of this game. So from what I can gather, you're basically two secret agents, Ben Baker and the Attacker. And you're infiltrating Mr. K, Mr. X, Dr. K, whatever his name is, because he seems to have a few names.
Well, he's quite an intelligent man, this Doctor, I'll say. I think he's quite a very intelligent man, because he's managed to create his own artificial life system, which is he did even better than Dr. Tyrell from Blade Runner, since he only created a few. Apparently, he only had Roy Batty and a few others, where this guy's got absolutely a ton of different genetically created soldiers. Sorry,
he didn't do that well though, Glenn, because they're not very intelligent, because they can only attack in straight lines.
They can only they can apart from when you mean high throw. Might get to him in a second. Like, well, might have to have a whole segment for that guy. But that's it is. But it's an interesting story, because it's like already previously said, being series, it's definitely based on Blade Runner. I would have loved to think there's a few Terminator elements in there now, but it doesn't really seem to go that route. I mean, you can always talk about, if you're a person who loves your sci-fi, obviously old sci-fi like 1950s classics, or anything up to like the Terminator, RoboCop and Blade Runner, you'll probably enjoy Crackdown as a game if you haven't already played it, but you love your retro stuff, just because the whole plot and the whole aesthetic. But I mean, basically what it is Mr. K, or Doctor or Professor, whichever one he is, we'll not promote him because he's still an arsehole. This guy has created his own race and a city to basically have them live in and operate in, and the militia at the same time.
So we've got vibes of Westworld here as well.
Yeah, well, that was a good one, actually. Definitely vibes. It is. Yeah, vibes the whole Westworld of both the series and the classic film. Not Future World, 'cause that's shite. And he basically, to me, as far as I can tell, going by the story, he's doing no harm to anybody. He's got his whole little world there. They're living together. Everyone's happy. Cats and dogs and all that. Dogs literally.
Well, dogs and chimpanzees.
Chimpanzees, yeah. Well, they're not the man to man drilling. It's like a ape with a big red arse. And and he's doing any harm, and these two blokes come along and just try to blow his house up, basically.
Obviously, these two blokes are working for some other shady corporation,
which I never actually found out.
Fault.
Never found out, because the one thing I've never done is I've never actually looked at the Japanese manual properly now, which I do need to translate. I wouldn't mind doing that, maybe in some sort of follow-up
episode.
Just even a little follow-up. But
here's a good question for you, Glenn. Right, so you got me into this game in the arcades, especially
two-player
Bellaby's Amusements. Who, if you grew up in this area,
Sunderland,
you'll know Bellaby's Amusements. So big shout out to Mark Bellaby and his family, and Reg, obviously, who's a legend. Unfortunately, no longer with us, but we'll miss Reg. Reg, the gatekeeper of Bellaby's. But Glenn, you got me into this game, so I have to ask you, what attracted you to this game?
Well, again, it goes back to a certain man who introduced me to Golden Axe.
Kev.
Kev, a legend in his own way. He got this game, and I played this game with him. And found it was a two-player game with split screen, and I just loved it. And I said, so that's why I say, again, I was playing the Mega Drive version before I even touched the arcade game. And unlike Golden Axe, where the lines are blurred, where basically the Mega Drive version is better than the arcade game in a lot of ways. Crackdown is clearly better as the arcade machine. It just is. The Mega Drive version's actually had some poor reviews and some publications, but it is a good game. It doesn't look as good and it doesn't play as good as the arcade.
I think it took a lot of advantage of the additional graphical power. I think it was two Motorola 6800 side by side, or 68,000s. Sorry, side by side.
Again, going back to the graphics of the arcade machine, the whole thing, and it's the feel of the arcade machine, the feel of the characters and the movement, that is better than the Mega Drive. But yeah, that was what got me into that particular game, and then I moved into the arcade game, and for me, Crackdown was a legend ever since, and still is.
So just to for the people who haven't played this game, to try and maybe tempt you into playing it a little bit. So essentially, the game, like Glenn said, is probably almost like a gauntlet / hybrid Metal Gear type thing. What essentially happens is you'll start a round. The game split into 4 scenes and 4 acts.
And you've got your map at the top of the screen that shows you where your enemies and your bombs are you need to plant.
So you've got a split screen, which is a permanent split screen, and then you've got a separate map screen at the top, so you can always see where everything is. Now, the idea of the game is to, kill any enemies who get in your way, plant the bombs on the crosses, and then escape the level before the bombs go off.
Yeah.
Now, you get about, I think it's 2.5 minutes.
2 to 2.5 minutes, depending, yeah.
Yeah, for each level to do this. Level. However, if you lose a credit, then your timer resets.
Yes, it does.
And as well, you start the game with machine guns and like a super bomb.
Although you can adjust that in options again, like arcade dip settings.
Dip settings and stuff,
as most people know.
But you can pick up cannon rounds, which is basically what a bazooka.
Yeah.
Which can kill multiple enemies if they're in a line, that kind of thing.
You've got your super bombs, which we need to mention Shinobi for a second, maybe.
Yeah,
I'll pipe in here if you'd like.
Go for it.
Because this is quite an interesting little feature, which I didn't really find out only about 5 years ago. But what Crackdown in the arcade does is it gives you 4 different types of super bombs, and every time you pick up a super bomb icon, it adds to your roster, obviously. You can only hold 4 in the arcade machine, where in the Mega Drive version you can hold as many as you can pick up. It doesn't change things as much as, say, for instance, Golden Axe does, because it works in the same theory in that it's just simply a smart bomb. Yeah, Golden Axe is a completely different genre game, but it is literally a smart bomb, as you'll know. But Crackdown's 4 different type of bombs kill enemies in different ways. Now, it's... yeah. Oh, you see.
I didn't know that.
It doesn't make a difference at all. It makes a graphical difference. You've got a lightning bomb, you've got a boomerang bomb. I can't remember offhand what the other 2 are, but they simply kill the enemies, and it's like the graphical overall effect's different, but it doesn't do anything to the game. It doesn't have a different strength or anything. It's just for graphics. But when I mentioned Shinobi just now, if you can get through a level, and I think this only applies to the arcade machine, possibly not the Mega Drive, but I've never tested it out. But if you can complete a level without using a bullet or a cannon shot, you can get, I think it's a 1,000,000 point bonus. So you haven't got to use any smart bombs as well either, and you can complete that level.
Or so you can just go through punching people.
Yeah, get to punch every character in the level.
I like punching everyone. It's more satisfying.
You get a Shinobi bonus, and that's why I've never tested it out, but just thought it was a cool little nod as well. It is linked to the smart bombs in some way, but I can't remember exactly what I have. But definitely want to mention them there because they have that different effect. It's a nice aesthetic thing.
Yeah, just falling back into that. And so, as Glenn was saying there, you've got a smart bomb, which is a separate button, and you've got your cannon and machine gun, which, am I right, in the Mega Drive, you can switch between
select
cannon and machine gun.
You can't. No, you can't at all, and there's no separate button for that.
Yeah, so if you've got cannons...
it is important, isn't it? It is important. It makes a massive gameplay difference as well, which is the one, in fact, to be honest, it's the one feature of the Mega Drive game where it is absolutely better, because there's certain enemies that only take 1 bullet and some that take 2, and that might not seem like a big deal, but the cannon kills everybody in 1 shot, and in fact the cannon travels through multiple enemies and also racks up your bonuses. Now it does that in every version, including the computer games, but and obviously the machine gun doesn't. But if you're just fighting individual enemies, why would you waste your cannon shots when there's more important things you're keeping for later? Yeah. So having that select button is an excellent little feature of the Mega Drive game.
So the arcade version is based on a 2-button cabinet. Effectively, you've got your cannon, your super bombs, like we've said. You've got a 8-way joystick, so you can move diagonals, you can move up, down, left, right.
Yeah, which enemies can't.
Exactly. And it's this is one of the things that are probably better about the game, because it does.
It will be solid. It will be absolutely solid, wouldn't it? If all the enemies, take one enemy as an example, not High Thor, but the Joker, who is quite a late enemy. Yeah, who is a hand-to-hand combat enemy who, again, can only move on the verticals and the horizontals and can't attack on the diagonals either. But he's so fast, and his punches and kicks are so fast as well. He jumps out of holes as well at the time in the level that he appears on. Yeah. So, and he swarms you. So if that guy could literally just run straight at you, you'd be playing the game like Gauntlet, but with 1 hit.
Yeah, but because they've got to run in a straight line, and then basically run left and then down in straight lines, they're slower, so you can get away a little bit, but they are a faster character than you.
Yeah.
But one other thing that Crackdown brought to the table was the ability to hug walls, which in the first few levels makes a big difference.
Massively.
But you soon meet enemies that can guide their shots to either side against the wall. So
and this is what's so cool about Crackdown's enemy types and about understanding the enemy types as well, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like to have a little bit of time talking about them.
Go for it, yeah, because I think there's a lot of stuff that it can. Yeah, there's a lot of enemies to discuss here.
And do you know what it is? I can remember every single one of them.
Yeah,
I remember every single one of them.
I've spent the last week playing the game just here and there a little bit again, trying to refresh myself on it. Some of them infuriate me.
Well, the thing is, Crackdown has, if I remember right, I'm going to put a number on it, although I'll break it down anyway, but I believe it's 16 on the arcade and 19 on the Mega Drive. But I'll not mention the Mega Drive enemies for now because some of them don't work in the same way as the arcade game at all anyway. But Crackdown anyway, you have 16 enemy types, as in they come in different colours as well, but you can break them down into different species, if you want to call it. So you have your first type is what is commonly called in the arcade as the Hell Army. But the Hell Army come in 3 different variants, which on the Mega Drive, which a little feature that attracted me in the Mega Drive version, again, going back to what Mark said about having the split screen forced element, was that even if you're playing a one player, you had a screen on the left-hand side, or right, if you're playing as Andy, that would show you the enemies that you're fighting on the level. So it was cool. It would show you the enemy's name, a picture of them, and the weapon that they use, so you could at least get an idea about what you were facing there and then. I like that little feature because I thought
it was good.
It's just a cool little presentation feature that doesn't happen in the arcade. But I got the names of the characters from there, and you also get some extra information, including more information about the enemy characters in the arcade version of the ending, as you'll know. But anyway, the base enemy in the arcade version is called the Hell Army, which actually break down to 3 types, known as the Proto, Replicant, and Hell Army. Proto Army are orange soldiers that only have a punch and kick ability, just like the Joker character we just mentioned, but these are extremely slow moving and the punches and kicks are slow. It's literally the bottom of the barrel opponent that you face. It's like a prototype soldier, as the name implies. The second one up, which is like a base level grunt, not very powerful, but obviously be wary, is the Replicant Army, which is the green variant of the same sprite soldier type, except this guy has a gun now. Now he basically just fires a single shot in 4 directions. The shot itself moves fairly slow.
Yeah.
And it's easy to avoid, providing you hug the walls.
Frequency between the shots.
Is slow. Well. Yeah, I mean, but the guy has got a gun, so you do need to be careful. You know, and they move the same as the Proto, but they're slightly more dangerous. But the third type, the Hell Army, right, which is like he wears like a dark grey uniform with a purple beret. This guy is like in a league of his own. He doesn't appear until halfway through the game on level 9. It is. It's level 9. Scene 3, Act 1, which is, if I remember right, it's like a car. It looks like it's on a harbour, like a harbour area, like
belts going,
with conveyor belts. He appears here, and at first, if you've seen this character, you'd probably just think he's another one of what you've already fought. But he moves quick. His bullets are extremely fast. He can fire quite quickly, and he does something that you will have found out already by then, but like you'll not be happy still because he moves much faster. Is he can fire shots to the side and left of them. Don't mean he can fire left and right, but if you were hugging the walls, he can do this technique where he can actually shoot you still. So don't bother hugging the walls, just get out of there.
So basically, instead of firing a shot dead center, he can move his arm out to the left or to the right.
To the right, so he can take it out. Yeah, if you hit it into the wall.
Yeah, so hugging the walls doesn't really work against
not the Hell Army, not at all. No. So that's those 3 types. The next step up is the Mad Murderers. Now there are 2 types of these. These are cool and dangerous as well. Mad Murderer 1 is a yellow armoured soldier who takes 2 bullets normally. This goes back to what was said about cannon fire. I know that's only 1 extra shot, but there's times when you really do need that shot, especially by the end of the game. This guy attacks with a machine gun anyway, and he fires a burst of 3 bullets, and then he stops for a couple of seconds. So obviously the idea being he fires these 3 bullets, and then you pop out of your cover and you take him out. So it sounds almost like a first-person shooter that we're talking about now, you know.
Well,
but it is what it is.
Army of 2.
Yeah, definitely. Pop out, absolutely. None of the Mad Murderers can use the side shot function that the Hell Army character can use, but you can see still the dangerous. There's a second Mad Murderer that appears a few levels later that exactly the same on base level, but he fires 5 shots. So again, it's being aware that he's going to fire 5 shots at you and not 3. Otherwise, you'd pop out after the 3rd and get your backside toasted. So
learning the enemies is one of the main things. Of this game.
Yeah, and this is why again that actually goes back to Gauntlet a little bit. If you were to think of that game where every enemy type had a different set of functions and fighting abilities, the coolest enemy type in the game is probably the next one, and that's the Panthers. I think they look so fantastic. They just have character. Again, this goes back to the System 24 board, because the Mega Drive version of the Panthers, you can't make them out properly. They're just coloured soldiers. You can't make out the looks and the faces and that, or the hair and that. When the arcade game, they look like just absolute futuristic nutters with stupid hair. 3 types of these guys: fast, rolling, and shadow. All different colours. That's like red, green, and blue. And the fast Panther fights a little bit more like a replicant soldier, but he does have a quick rate of fire, while the rolling, who can roll across the ground by way to catch you out. Green. And the shadow have the ability to teleport everywhere. But rolling and shadow also have the side shot feature that we just mentioned earlier. Nasty. Also, after that, we have the 2 Tomahawk soldiers. There's green and red. Tomahawks look similar and fight similar to the Mad Murderers, except they're pretty much equipped like you are with the rocket launcher, or cannon if you want to call it that. So the greens only fire a single shot though. What happens is the shot comes out of their cannon slow and then speeds up like you'd expect a rocket to. So they can catch it out just with this increase in speed of the shot. Plus with them having armour, again, they take 2 machine gun bullets. Like I said, greens fire 1, reds fire 3, so be very wary of that. Next step up after that is the mandrill. Mandrill is in fact a monkey, or it's a mandrill, but they're all primates, and they are lethal. You do not expect to see this thing in the game, but it's meant to be a synthetic, like, combat animal that again will attack you with a deadly swipe, and they move very quick, and they tend to move in diagonal. So it's the one only enemy that moves completely different from anything else in the game, in the arcade version at least anyway. But it is wary to look out for these when they come, but they take 2 bullets to kill and all. So I always fight a mandrill with a cannon shot. I just don't take any chance. I try and avoid them getting close enough for hand-to-hand combat as well.
I kind of get them before they get too close. I'm lucky if I get to kill it before it swipes us and kills
they're
me.
terrible. The second animal type is Amasunio. Amasunio is a guard dog. Looks almost more like a Doberman. Now, he doesn't have a very special attack, but he attacks on the verticals and horizontals like most of the regular soldiers. But they're so fast. There's only 2 in the entire game.
Yeah,
literally 2 in the entire game, and they move like lightning and attack with a bite. So you need to get in close. But
you hear them before you see them usually.
That's it. They have a bark. Just don't risk them getting near you, because I said even though there's only 2 in the game, they will do you harm. Another very unusual enemy as well, which is 2 types of, is the Bioseeds. Now there's Bioseed 1 and 2. Bioseed 1's green and Bioseed 2's yellow. Now these only appear in 1 level, and that level is level 14, which is like 14. The best level, most interesting, the most fun level in the game, I think. In fact, for us, it's the one level where you need to cooperate really to do well. It's
actually
easy to lose.
While on the subject of that level, I've got a question for you on that. Do you have to kill, because the Bioseeds come out of these yellow generators that are in each room basically? Do you have to kill the generators as well as plant the bombs to leave that?
Not at all. No, it's always optional. I tend to always try and kill the generators because it's satisfying and stops them. But there's a negative of this, because if you kill them generators, it takes 3 rockets to kill a generator.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, you want to keep them for a little bit later on in the last level, when you've got the dizzy metals coming at you, which is something else altogether, because you want to be able to hit them fast and hard. So
probably the next enemy that you were about to talk about. But you've got more to say about the biospheres, surely.
Well, I've got to say the Bioseeds themselves. Bioseed 1 is green and 2 is yellow, and there's a very good reason why they're different. Now, Bioseed 1 takes 1 bullet to kill. Bioseed 2 takes 2. That is if you hit them when they're in the seed form. Basically, the seed form also has a nasty attack by itself. It'll literally start wobbling and shaking and then jump on you and sort of assimilate you and just melt you. So you need to kill it before it does that. But if you leave it around long enough, each of the seeds can change it into a soldier. Bioseed 1 changes into the replicant soldiers that we mentioned earlier. Obviously not too dangerous. You're probably better off letting them change, because they change into quite an enemy who has a gun, fair enough, but quite an ineffectual enemy. But still, it's up to you, depending on what strategy you take. But Bioseed 2, the yellow one, changes into Hell Army soldiers. So obviously he moves from taking 2 shots to 1, but you've just turned into quite a dangerous enemy itself. Now the other enemy, which is a great little nod back to Running Man. I think it's deliberate. It only came out 2 years after the Running Man film.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Wall Cutter.
Yeah.
Now Wall Cutter
Buzzsaw.
Wall Cutter is Buzzsaw basically, and it's a purple soldier with a helmet on, armor as well. So he's considered an armored soldier that would take 2 bullets to kill. They're not too difficult normally because they don't have a ranged attack, and they're not very quick because they're considered a heavy soldier. So they tend to pop up in levels where they're on the other side of the level, and they do tend to teleport in. So his MO, his name's Wall Cutter. So basically, just don't stand near the wall. You can escape them by obviously hugging the opposite wall to them, but they do catch you out from time to time. Just as a quick little nod, just quick mention the Mega Drive version without going into it fully here. I've noticed on that version of the game, he actually has two saws. He has 2 power saws as opposed to one, where he has one chainsaw on the arcade.
Yeah.
The Mega Drive's got 2. Looks like it's 2, which actually sort of looks slightly cool on the Mega Drive if the sprite had been the arcade version sprite. So not a big thing, but just one of them little things that you sometimes notice when playing for years.
Admission of guilt, I didn't actually play the Mega Drive version before this, so you're mentioning these things which I come back with, oh shit, yeah, I remember that.
Before I go on the last few enemies, though, I'm going to mention the ultimate enemy. In fact, I'm going to let Mark mention the ultimate enemy. He's green and he has a flamethrower.
Oh, High Thrower.
Come on, go away, Mark. Tell us about High Thrower.
I spent about 2 minutes today being chased around, is it map? The map with the falling floors?
Yeah.
Being chased around that map with High Thrower's flamethrower literally millimetres off me arse while I was running around trying not to fall down holes. I hate that twat. And the thing is, he seems to have 360 vision as
He has absolutely 360 everything, mate. He's Cops 360 on us. This guy is like absolutely the lord of Crackdown. It's just... And it's the only version where you can do it, though, isn't it? Where he literally... It's strange because he's the only enemy who, like previously mentioned, he has a flamethrower. He's an armoured soldier, so again, 2 bullets if you don't have a cannon. And he's not even very fast moving, but he can literally cover a whole area with fire in full 360 movement, and it's quite a long range as well.
It has,
There's nothing you do. Your bullets will go through it, so provided you've got range, your bullets and cannons will go through.
Yeah.
But he will hit you, and he will get you if you.
It's satisfying as fuck when you
get. He's one of the most dangerous.
If you can kind of get him just coming around the corner and he hasn't noticed you, you can just punch him. Which actually we didn't mention.
I don't think I've ever punched one yet.
When you're crouched against the wall, you can actually use a melee, whatever it's called.
Yeah, you've got melee attack.
Melee attack, so you can punch or kick people.
Which
and
does
that's the
work.
most satisfying way to kill
especially
people.
when they're coming round the corner as well. As they're coming round. I'll not go too much into the Joker, other than the fact that he's called the Joker, because I said he's basically what the prototype army are, the proto army. But he's just much, much quicker in everything. And he appears, as Mark said, he appears from holes in the ground as well. And he can swamp the area with clones of himself. And it's the only level this character appears on, actually. So, and he's a completely unique sprite, isn't he, though? Yeah. It's not like a sprite of another sprite, a copy of a sprite. It's unusual that he's only on that one level, which I was a bit surprised at.
Tell you what, you talked about people just, trying to teleporting in. But we haven't mentioned like there's another similarity to Gauntlet in a way there with the generators, because enemies can spawn from a lot of places.
They're so different though. I mean, obviously we've got a couple more enemies to talk about as well, but we'll do that in a second. But we've got there's a lot of just daft little areas where there'll be trapdoors on the floor. And now I noticed something in level 2. Where
car doors.
Yeah, level 3. That's later on. Level 2 has 3 enemy types. You've got the Protos and the Replicants, and Mad Murderer 1. Now the Mad Murderer 1s are fixed in the level. There's about maybe 12 or so, and then there's a few at the end. You've got 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom. Great way to get score.
Get them shoot each other.
You can go get them shoot each other. But one interesting thing I noticed about that level, and I can't remember if it's just because of the difficulty I was playing on or the machine in general, but there's trapdoors on the floor that open and release a replicant soldier, and they only ever release one, ever.
Right.
Only in that particular level, where not multiples, where other levels.
So it'll release one, and then you'll
never see another one again. So that to me is still limited enemies. So I thought it was difficulty related. It is level 2. Remember, it's only the first level. But like you've just said, they're car doors, which is the opposite, where you've got these car doors on level 5, where green tomahawks. Not reds, because reds are fixed in the level. Reds are fixed. Right. But the greens are infinite, and the more you walk near the car doors, the greens will keep coming out the car doors of the scrap cars. So you've got to be very careful there because they will come out and they will shoot you as the door opens.
You end up with sometimes 10, 15 enemies on the screen shooting at you at the same time.
But it's a strategic way to get a good score if you want to, as well, I suppose. Like, it makes the game way tougher.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, one of the good things about the score mechanic is if you shoot an enemy with a cannon and the cannon goes through him, it kills enemies in line with him, and it's a score multiplier, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously it's an arcade game. Score is the game at the end of the day, isn't it?
And there's quite a few little doors or little just entrances or exits during the levels where characters can do this. In fact, I said some characters constantly respawn in, like the Shadow Panthers, and some other types as well who normally wouldn't spawn. Like for instance, level 4 is the first meeting of the Green Tomahawks. It's almost like a boss fight in a way, even though Crackdown doesn't strictly have boss fights. But there's an area at the end of level 4 where it's like a teleportation plate, and the Green Tomahawks will just constantly spawn in.
Hate that bit.
It can be tough. You've got to have a bomb handy sometimes. We'll mention the Mega Drive version because they replaced with something else, if you remember.
Well, I don't actually remember that, but I've got that on my notes for a little bit later on some of the stuff I really dislike about this game. So let's keep that for now.
Well, I'll finish up on the enemies. There's only a couple more to go.
Yeah.
Although I will mention the Mega Drive version enemies in this because there's 3 more, and I want to get them out of the way in case we forget them because they are worth mentioning. There's only 3 types.
We're developing a pattern here. We'll always seem to be arcade and Mega Drive, but that's not the case.
It's probably a good thing with Sega as well at the minute, but we have got a few Sega classics. But there is only a couple more enemies. I mean, let's see if I've mentioned all main ones. Yeah, but we've also got the Dizzy Metal. Now, Dizzy Metal is probably the most dangerous enemy in the game. Now, it's only named on the Mega Drive version. Obviously in the section of the game where it shows you who you're fighting, but it's actually it's nothing more than a simple sort of sphere. If you've seen Flash Gordon and the sphere that's in the sky that's flying about all the time, it's just that. It's just a metal sphere with a laser, but they move so fast, so quick.
Yeah, it's really hard to get a shot on a minute.
In fact, it's the only true boss fight in the entire game because it is. I would call it a boss fight. Like it is. It's the best thing you get to a boss fight.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Crackdown's not a game of bosses, but if you had to say there's one boss fight in the game, Dizzy Metal fights it. And I think it's 2 waves, if I remember right. 2 waves of like 8. I think it might be 4 or 3 at the bottom and 3 at the top.
You have to kill them all.
You have to kill them all. That's why I consider it a boss fight. Like I say, the very quick move and the fire these lasers that are 100% accurate, so you must move all the time. You're best off having bombs for this fight, super bombs. Yeah. But having the rocket is way better than the machine gun. Now, Dizzy Metal in this game, in this version of the game, only takes 1 bullet. They're not armoured, so they take 1 single bullet, but the bullets move so slow that you're better off having a rocket handy because it does much more. It's more potent. But once you've killed all these enemies anyway, you have 1 more fight, and that one is the good doctor himself, Mr. K, or Dr. K, whatever you want to call him.
Mr. Dr. K.
Horatio, or Oscar, as he's called in the American computer versions. Oscar K, funny enough, would you believe? Yeah, Oscar.
Yeah, who's obviously extremely difficult. And you're lucky if you don't lose a life on it.
Well, he's not Marty shite.
What do we usually do? So you kill the Dizzy Metals and it's a race to the little chamber that he hides himself in.
Yeah, he's got a little... He's got his personal office. He has Mr. K has a personal office. You kill all the Dizzy Metal robots and the 2 force fields. Now, I've never worked this out because if I was Mr. K, I would have just kept my force fields up.
Yeah,
there's 2 force fields. Obviously, even if you had no food in there, you could still stick your fingers up at like Ben and Andy through the force field. And just die like slowly while watching them die slowly. So I just don't get why he opens the door and can't come in and just do what you want to do. Basically, they have the way with him.
But to talk it out and hug, and everyone goes home, don't they?
No, but he still is an old man. He's
an OP. Isn't he laughing at you as well while you?
He only laughs when he. Oh, when does he?
Is he not laughing at you while you're like about to kill him?
No, I think it's when the Dizzy Metal shoots you. Yeah, that's a Mega Drive version.
That's it. Yes, he laughs when you get killed.
No. No, in the arcade version, he does his little laugh when he moves to another section of his level. Yes. When he moves into other sections. Yes, where in the Mega Drive, he laughs every time he hits you. Yeah. When his Dizzy Metals kill you. Yeah,
because in the last level, which Glenn's actually been discussing for the last 2 minutes with the Dizzy Metals and everything, you're moving through like a series of quite nasty traps.
It is. Really. Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 sections, And it's not like there's no bombs either.
Yeah, Mr. K is standing watching you trying to get through these traps, and every time you make progress, he runs off and laughs at you like a Dr. Robotnik kind of thing.
Yeah. Ugly.
Probably.
And purpler.
And eventually he goes and hides through his chamber. You fight all the dizzy metals. It's like a boss fight, like Glenn says. And then he stupidly opens his chamber doors, and you walk in, and first one to shoot him kills him.
Well, there's 3 ways to kill him. 3 very distinct ways to kill him. So, bear in mind, he's not completely harmless, right? He's not. He's hardly the final boss of Ikari while he's on the NES.
I've just thought I could have super bombed it at any time when you haven't.
Yeah, well, we did this the other day, if you remember. Right? Like, basically, once those doors, you can't hurt Mr. K at all, but when those 2 grey force field doors go down in his chamber, anything goes. So you can either use a bomb from outside to kill him, you can go in and shoot him, or you can go in and punch him. But he does have a gun, and his gun is the fast. I mean, this is the jokes aside now, mind. He has the fastest firing pistol in the game. He can't do any sort of strange side shot, but he literally almost fires like a machine gun, because I've seen this happen. So basically, if you're going to go in and kill him, for instance, where the jokes would subside is if you were on your last 10pence piece that you had in your pocket, you were on your last life, and you walked in being cocky as hell, and you walked straight into a bullet. So if you had a bomb left at that point, I'd just use the bomb and complete the game. You can't. What I tend to do in the arcade game was I would never go into the chamber. In fact, I would go to an angle, because there's a good angle you can get, and shoot into the chamber from a diagonal angle, and you can literally hit them. You will hit them every time as well. If you go into the chamber, you're likely to get shot.
Because you put yourself direct in that
and he will hit you.
Horizontal line of fire on you.
It's
can't shoot you diagonally.
I thought it was quite clever, really, because said you could look like the biggest smart ass if you went in there and literally lost your last 10 minutes trying to kill the old man that takes 1 bullet to shoot, or 1 punch, or a bomb that you had in your pocket anyway to fire. So I do quite like that little last blast. But that's all the enemies of Crackdown the arcade. But I will mention 3 more enemies quickly.
But before we do, I've got to say, I absolutely love that last little. For me, it's like the Double Dragon, the end where you fight each other. Just once those dizzy metals are gone,
it's who gets in there first.
It's that little
who gets in there first?
Who gets the bag and
I tend to go for the diagonal. It's like the Virgo trick. It's like the John Virgo trick shot. You're trying to get that diagonal shot straight into the chamber before, because there's no way he's going to get in there for you. But we had a little, well, this is recorded now forever, so I'm going to say it anyway though.
Go for it.
But me and Mark were playing Crackdown only a few weeks back, and I still had a bomb left. Mark went in to hit him, and I just pressed the bomb button. It was the cowardly way out, but I won. Because and by the way, just for the record as well, the bomb doesn't work on the Mega Drive version. You can shoot him and you can go in and punch him, but the super bomb won't kill him on the Mega Drive VM.
See, I remember, obviously we played much more the Mega Drive version because we had it at home. And I think that's why it's ingrained in me, never being able to do that. That, and because I'm not an arsehole like you.
Yeah.
So I would never do it.
I'm an arsehole,
but it's, I never realised you could just bomb and kill him. It's like, shit.
Without bringing up the Mega Drive games specifically yet, I will mention these 3 enemies because they are worth mentioning. Because they do change the game a lot in some degree. The Mega Drive game has 3 new enemies. It has an enemy called the Mega Mirror, which is a very similar character to the Dizzy Metal in a way, except instead of darting around the place, it flies around the arena. It only appears in 1 level, and that level is level 10, which is a replacement level that isn't in the arcade game at all, which we'll probably get to in a second.
I might have to go and play this tonight.
It's a completely different enemy. Again, it's an armoured enemy as well. It takes 2 bullets. But it works in a similar way to the Dizzy Metal. But it's interesting because it's not in the arcade version. The other one is the Crash Soldier. Now, the Crash Soldier is, it's a suicide soldier, basically. But what makes him interesting is that at the end of level 4, instead of fighting the green tomahawks as you would in the arcade game, in that sort of mini boss battle, if you want to call it that, it's replaced by tons and tons of these Crash Soldiers. Now, this character also appears in the very final level, and that's the only other level you see. And the third enemy is very interesting because of what it actually is. It's called Robot K, and it's meant to be a robotic version of Mr. K. Now, it's a gold robot in a weird white lab coat, and it's quite comical to look at. And it attacks with a 3-way shot.
Where do you fight that again?
You fight it in the last level, but in the alcoves. You've got to remember level 16 on the Mega Drive is longer. There's more to it. There's an extra section in where you have to move around, and there's cameras. Yeah. There's these weird laser cameras which aren't in the arcade game that can shoot you. And Robot K is in the corner. There's only 2 or maybe 4, but that fires a 3-way shot, and it could be nasty unless you've got a bomb. I mean, a bomb will take them out, but a bomb won't take these security cameras out, which aren't in the arcade game. But they're moving like that, and they're firing or lasers, so you do sometimes lose a life there in the Mega Drive version. They're not in any other version, including the arcade. So, but again, It's a couple of nice little ways in which the Mega Drive game changed things up a bit. It's not a complete rewrite, but it's got one completely new level, which, to be fair, I've always said to Mark, I actually prefer the original arcade level to the new level. I love the old level, level 10, the Green Maze level that we play through with all the Panthers and the... there's one enemy we missed as well.
Did we?
We did. Well, I did. Because I'm pleased I've just thought about him now. Have a think. Dave, you can think about him. He has a sword.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, he's, well, for want of a better word, he's a close combat expert with a sword and shield.
Yeah.
You can't hit him face on. You've got to weight these shields down or hit them from the sides or back. And
tell you a cool little detail. No, what's his name? I thought it was Tatsuji or something.
Tekken or Tekken, depends how you pronounce it, really.
Yeah. Tekken, right? Well, that's what we'll say, okay? So I noticed the other day, because Tekken with his shield, you can't shoot him with... Tekken.
Tekken fans,
you can't shoot him with cannons or bullets.
Yeah, nothing will go through that shield, Nothing will go through at all.
What you can do, if you're hooked against the wall, his shield's at his left-hand side, and if he's walking up to the screen, so his shield's at his left-hand side, you try to shoot him, you hit his shield. But if he's walking down the screen, and his shield's at the other side, and you shoot him, it kills him.
Well,
a nice little detail.
This is one of the little reasons why I might mention... I know I tend not to spend too long going into the computer versions, but I do need to maybe mention Tekken in the computer version at one point, because you'll hear them. But anyway, I digress, Mark, from now. So I've mentioned all these enemies, these colourful characters that we've talked about. So,
well, I think what we should do here, because there's a few things that I love about Crackdown, but at the same time, there's quite a few things I dislike about Crackdown.
Go for it, brother.
And I think we should maybe get into that first, because I think you've probably got a few as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the biggest bugbears for me of this game, right, and I understand why it does it, okay, but the trap levels. Now, when I say trap levels, right, every scene, so there's 4 scenes in the game, each scene has 4 acts, I think we've said that.
Yeah,
but
16 levels, yeah.
So, typically, every 4th act or every last act in the scene has some sort of trap level.
Yeah, almost like
end.
a boss type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the first one, as Glenn's mentioned before, is where you're in a big purple area and loads of these green tomahawks spawn, okay? Now, if in this bit you didn't have a super bomb or 2 spare, I think you'd struggle. You'd have to spend 10 pence and start a new credit.
Yeah.
Because there's that many of these bloody enemies spawn that you cannot get through them. And one of the weird things about Crackdown's controls, if you walk into an enemy and don't manage to get a punch or a shot into them, you'll kind of bounce off them.
Yeah,
and then keep bouncing off them.
They'll shoot you, won't they? If they've got a gun, or they'll... Yeah.
And the enemies in this game don't hesitate to shoot you. They're quicker than you sometimes in firing a shot. So you're trying to get through this sea of people that keep spawning in from everywhere randomly, and you've got to use a bomb. And sometimes it's nice, it gives you a bit of grace period after a bomb. It gives you 2 seconds maybe to make some progress through this generally short area that you've got to get through. But sometimes you'll use a bomb and instantly some more people will spawn.
Of course, but being an arcade game, I suppose, as well. Though.
And that's what I was going to get to, yeah. Because these trap areas feel cheap. Yeah. Now, what also happens if you die, though, you start back at the beginning of the trap area.
Yeah.
Where at any other point in the game, you would start where you died.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the reason for this by playing it a bit more again today. It's similar to if you're crossing one of the bridges that aren't really a trap area, but a bridge that moves, for example. It doesn't spawn you back in the same place because it would kill you, I think.
It would. Maybe if you were... we've seen places where I've been burnt alive by a high thought on level...
Yeah.
12, level 12, the foundry, the foundry, where the high throws are there. So if you spawn back onto one of the plates that you're crossing over, you'd just get burnt again.
You would,
I mean, you've got about 2 seconds of invincibility, but you probably might not last long enough if you move.
I think that's why it does it. I don't think it does it to be, a devil and just make it even harder for you. But at the same time, it is a good excuse to get a couple more credits out you in a scene like that. And then you've got... which one's at the end? 2-4 is the one with the electricity grid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now that one there, sparks. Right? You can get easily, in my opinion, get past the first 2 parts of that trap, but the third part is impossible to get past without a super bomb. So if you have not got a super bomb, it's goodbye credit because you're going to have to die to get a super bomb to get past that. And even then, sometimes when you have a super bomb, it doesn't give you any grace, it immediately fires another trap at you while you're crossing it.
Which I failed on.
And other times, it gives you like a good second or so, enough time to get out of it and exit the level. So it can be very cheap in these areas, in my opinion. However, the trap at the end of scene 3, it's just
that's skill related. That is skill related.
It's so easy. I don't think I've died on it ever. You just have to navigate through like a maze. And I mean, I've been playing this game, 25 years or something, more, 30 years maybe. And it's ingrained in my head where you have to go. And I remember every time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can imagine it might give like a newcomer a bit of difficulty navigating through that maze. But it's so easy once you know the route. You don't get hit. Very rarely you get hit, you know. But it's the first 2 traps for me, like super cheap. And then the last level has some cheap spots as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously, again, you like mentioned the Dizzy Metal Battle, if you want to just say that.
That's a tough one. It's a credit sapper.
It can be, it depends. I mean, but to be honest with you, the one I hate the most, if I want to mention mine, and it sticks out to me because I hate it, and it's not even because the chips that we're talking about, level 2, 4, level 8, normally I can do that great, but it's actually level 12, when I 12 that? Level, is it level 13 then? Wait there? The one with the purple floor?
So be Act
13, 14, 15. It's 12, it's level 12. Level 12, where you've got the 2 machines at the end where they're firing lasers straight down and up, and you've got to time them. You can actually get a timing. I've read there is a timing to the lasers. You know where you've got to go up first?
That's not level 12. That's in the last scene, isn't it?
Oh, it is, Matt. It's level 15. It's
Yeah,
15.
15.
Because it's level 15.
To the playthrough I had today, I made it up to scene, not because I was crap or anything. I made it to scene 4, Act 2, and then I ran out of time and I had to turn off at that point.
Yeah,
I hadn't come to that.
That last section, 15, right?
That's a cheap one, yeah.
The thing is, I could, anyway, back in the day, beat Crackdown on 10 pence with 3 lives, and I'd always lose 1 life. The best I could ever do was lose 1 life. And now I don't know what difficulty was set on. Probably not the easiest, since obviously it's in an arcade setting, but I'd always lose 1 life, and if I did that, that was me great playthrough, and it would be on 15. Now, I know for 100% fact that there is a timing to the lasers at the end of that section, but I've just never been able to work it out, and I can't be asked.
There is,
so
but
I would just die. I would just go through. I was happy to lose 1 life and then complete it, because I'd always clock it. I'd have enough bombs and that to use them on the Dizzy Metals, which I would use. I'd always bomb them. I wouldn't bother fighting them, and obviously just shoot Mr. K. The whole of level 16 is quite easy, really. I mean, the first part of that level is just Mad Murderer 2s in 2 chambers. And obviously you walk into them areas to get cannon shots. And if I remember right, they give you 30 each. So you want to get them 2 icons. You're only fighting Mad Murderers.
20, I think.
Could be then fair, but it is a lot, I know that.
I looked at
and then after that, all you're doing is you're just making your way across those twin conveyor belts, which there's a way to do that without getting killed. There is a way of, if you just take a couple of shots and don't get greedy, you can go over, take a shot, come back, go, you know what I mean? Go over and take a shot. If you take 2, you're too far over, and you'll end up having to die, and you'll lose life. So if you just take 1, it might be 2 you can go with, I don't know. But take 1, come back, you get plenty of time. Then you're into the final section, you're there, you're into the final chamber, the boss battle, and that's it. And obviously once you've got that barrier down, you're laughing. The same way the Mega Drive version's obviously got an extra segment that makes that level actually a little bit harder, where the rest of the game's quite easy,
So I think, is there anything major dislikes for you for this?
Do you know what it is? I'm going to disagree with this time, but it's not the same. If I have any criticisms, it's not the same ones. The first one, as in like level 4, I don't mind that at all. I just don't mind that battle. Level 8, generally, apart from like 4, what was it, 5 or 6 weeks ago, played now maybe.
Yeah.
But I haven't played for like over 10 years. But normally I could finish that easily without any problem. Although I did sometimes have to use a bomb.
In fairness as well, I think the dip settings on that
it could, yeah.
version.
So I'm going to give that.
Everyone will have to emulate it because I don't have to board anymore. But
so I'd give that a little bit of leeway. That so I don't have a problem with that generally. Apart from that level 15, like Crackdown. Any
major
I think
dislikes.
the overall balance of the game is good. I can't really. It's. At the end of the day, they could have turned it into a gauntlet game where you were fighting against tons of enemies with only 1 hit death, which would have been one of the hardest, most unbalanced games ever created. They could have went the other way, where you've got like loads of energy, and
it is one hit death.
No, but I mean, you could have had one. No, you could have one hit. No, that's not what I said. You could have had like one hit deaths, but fighting against hordes of enemies, like in Gauntlet.
Yeah, aye.
So you could have genuine spawning enemies left and right.
Sometimes, I mean, there's
Jokers.
Instances where today, even the game I had, I've got like probably 12 people trying to shoot us at the same time, and you try to stay in this little box where you're not getting shot.
Probably playing all along. But what level was that on? That has to be the joke.
Probably the scene 3 later on. Scene 3.
The Joker's not all coming at you. That's the only level you should get that. You should never have any other level where you've got that many enemies on you. Level 3, sometimes there's a few ambush points, obviously, towards the end, where the old high throws there and the Panthers are coming at you. But you should never have that. I mean, said it wouldn't work as a game like that. So I thought the balance of Crackdown's good. So no real overall. I mean, if I have to criticise, I'm only going to criticise the Mega Drive version just for not being as good as the arcade game after playing the Mega Drive version first. So
it's not really a fair criticism. It's a much weaker system, isn't it?
It is, So I can't really offer proper criticism of Crackdown.
All right, in that case, because I went first with dislikes, what's your most favourite thing about Crackdown?
Satisfaction of beating it. Every time I could play it on temperament. I don't get as much satisfaction now. And if I did have one little criticism, if I could, and it's like it's not going to count that. No, but it'd be like if it was a criticism, which is not really. If it was, it would be like I don't get the same satisfaction now of playing it, and that's not the game's fault. It's definitely not Sega's fault. It's probably my fault for just getting older. But the thing about Crackdown with me is it was a game I loved to play at the time, but I don't get as much. I think because I play it the same every time I play Crackdown, I would play it the same way and complete it the same way.
Yeah.
And to me, that stops being a game and more about just being a
routine.
Aye. So, and I would go down the arcade and I would literally beat it in exactly the same way. I would take the exact same route. I would beat enemies in the exact same way.
You could write a work instruction around it, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could do it exactly the same way. So I mean, that in itself can be a criticism and a praise as well, because that's what that type of game is. It's a bit like a shooter, isn't it? In that way, like a shoot 'em up, like a space shoot 'em up, or a like R-Type, or in that way, and that you'd memorise a pattern and stick to it. Where again, like going back to the other games, would tend not to work that way.
And I think that's maybe why I can't seem to get good at Crackdown, because I think you're right. I think you need to develop and learn a pattern, and I'm not. I'm tackling it like just a typical run and gun.
Well, this is where I played it the other week when we played it 5 weeks ago. I played it like we've been drinking, we've had a few drinks. I played it where I just felt like playing it because I weren't putting money in, and I was getting killed every 5 seconds. And it was like, Christ, this is so hard. And it's like it never used to be, because I could literally just breeze through. You knew exactly when people were going to pop up, how enemies were going to react, which enemies were going to be there. I mean, I would know when a rolling panther would move in a certain way, and I could just punch them straight away. I wouldn't have to waste a bullet in that.
Some of the enemies are predictable like that, and you can kind of learn that anyway. But for me, it's like the enemies just transported in from nowhere. That does me head in,
Well, anyway, about Crackdown, about the things that I like. Well, I don't like them. I love them. I have done for over 30 years. I love the theme. I love the theme of what the whole game is about. This I'm a sci-fi nut anyway, but this whole, like I say, Blade Runner, almost Terminator-esque RoboCop. It's a nice. It's a good style to be involved in, to be able to enjoy and play. Going to the game itself, I mean, it shouldn't remind us of this game, but it does. It reminds us of a game me and Mark played many years before. Well, not many years, but maybe the year or two before. We played a game called Captain Fizz.
Oh, yes, and the Blastertrons.
Captain Fizz and the Blastertrons, and that is actually closer to Gauntlet. That is actually a game that's close to Gauntlet, but the theme isn't maybe too far away from Crackdown. And I always remember what I liked about Captain Fizz was that was a split-screen game, unlike Gauntlet, and you did need to work together. I mean, there were some levels where you absolutely had to work together to be able to complete it. Now, Crackdown isn't absolute when it comes to that, but obviously it does make life easier for everybody if you do work together. So
there's none of this, you need to touch that and somebody else needs to touch that to open the door.
Yeah,
like that.
Captain Fizz, had certain elements of that game were really hard. I mean, you absolutely had to have two players, but but Crackdown sort of built on that for me, but in the right way as well, and moved forward where it should be. So as an arcade game, I think it succeeds very well actually because of the reasons Mark doesn't like about it. To be honest, like it says, obviously it is trying to make money out of you. So I suppose to catch you out with the odd cheap death does work within the context of the machine and the what would make the arcade operator happy. But as a game itself, I think, in fact, I would say to compare it against our previous video, Crackdown compares more balanced against Golden Axe, because, as we discussed previously, Golden Axe doesn't work as well as an arcade game because it's too easy and a little bit broken for the wrong way, for the right reasons, if you want to put it, depending on how you say it.
But to put my debate towards your point there, though, the reasons why Crackdown are hard is through things that you can't control, like those traps. There's no way out of them unless you have a smart bomb. And for me, that's not something that you can get good at, which is why I like Golden Axe.
Yeah, but they've got to nick the odd cheap life from you, I suppose. As long as, if it was happening any more than it was, I think it would just be a bad game.
Yeah.
All in all. I mean, there is plenty of arcade games that do things like that. So,
believe me, I don't think it's a bad game at all. I enjoy the game. I like the game.
Yeah.
It'll get a good score. Not to put spoiler out there, but you'll find out shortly anyway.
But as I say, overall, Crackdown, great game. Love the story, love the gameplay mechanics, love the game in general. That's all I've got to say on that.
Well, I think for me, right, probably my most favourite thing about Crackdown is the combat and movement. I think the ability to sneak up against, like for some of the lesser enemies where you can sneak up behind them, sneak up to the side of them, punch them, kick them, whatever. I love that, the melee combat in Crackdown. I mean, it's just one punch and they're dead.
Yeah.
Like very satisfying to get that shot off. And one thing I did want to mention as well, just going back to the days of Bella's, I remember standing across the other side of the arcade, like a Double Dragon or Gauntlet, and all you would hear was the "ha" off Crackdown in the demo. Yeah, exactly. Whoever mixed the sound on this game, it's probably better than our podcast, but my God, it was terrible. The volume, the sound effects, like the speech was so loud compared to everything else in the game.
Yeah.
You could hear it halfway up the bank.
I think that's what probably would have to have a look. Would stand out. Oh, what's this new cabinet?
Yeah, it's probably what attracted us. It was the audio. But no, I loved the speed, the fluidity of the movement and everything, and the shooting and everything, and the fact that you can. You get areas like I can't remember what level it is exactly, but there's a bit where you've got like a high thrower on one level, and he's in this little
that's level 3
area high. Yeah,
they've got their own little alcoves.
He's hiding in his little alcove, yeah,
and they don't activate till they come past.
Yeah, and you come round some of the shadow panthers, and you can kill them quite easily.
Yeah, and then he just pops out.
He's standing there waiting for you, and you see him, and it makes you think, how can I get this little twat without him seeing me?
And without using a bomb, because then you feel
exactly.
You've got to use a smart bomb.
It makes you think as a game sometimes. And again, as well, as Glenn put earlier, probably my favourite level as well is the Bioseed. Bioseed, that's right, isn't it?
Level 14,
earlier. 4-2. That's probably my favourite level as well, because it feels more frantic and it changes up the game a little bit. And it's just a fun, fluid level, in my opinion. And I don't mind that enemy. I know it can get frustrating, but I don't mind that enemy because I find them quite easy to take out. And it's the only level fighters. But I enjoy the playthrough of Crackdown. I've said earlier, I've tried to play through it completely a few times this week. I keep running out of time, but I keep making it up to around about scene 4, Act 1, Act 2, before I run out of time. Somehow, always in the same place. It's a great game.
I do have to put in one time, and I hope we'll both agree on this, and this adds to your likes and mine. But something which we haven't mentioned already that I know we both like about Crackdown, and it brings it most true on level 14 as it gets frantic, is the soundtrack. The music of Crackdown. I mean,
actually, yes,
it's got great tunes. Each one feels like something out of Mission Impossible. They're very stealthy. Imagine you being a secret agent moving the level. And level 14 is one of the levels where, because I love that particular track, it appears in that level. Each level recycles it. Each scene. Each scene was
So you've got, I think it's 4 main tracks, isn't it?
And one boss track for level
Yeah.
16, which is different from the rest.
No, I tell you what, I
And
found.
there's other tracks, but
It's actually noted on my document in front of us here. I made this note thinking, I love that track. And the one that stands out for me more is the Scene 1, Act 4, and obviously every other Act 4, apart from probably the last one. Do you know what it reminds us of? Ridge Racer. You know, like the early 94, 95 rave. It's got that did.
It's great. It's a jivey, bouncy tune that just like it gets you. Just you feel your toe tapping while it's But that's the other thing. Crackdown only has a small selection of main tracks with a really excellent main theme and all. But it's each one's got a very different feel to it as well throughout the game, and they try and match the level style that you've got. You've got like a stealthy track, and then you've got like you've got more of a bouncy, almost ravey track,
Well, I've voted, right, and I'll read this to everyone. So, some very catchy music that manages to stay with you long after you switch off. A couple of the tracks manage to sound like something from Ridge Racer or other later rave/techno-inspired games from the mid-90s. Level 4 of each mission is the track I'm thinking of. That's exactly what I wrote. It's
I was thinking the BioSig track there was actually like level track 2 of each scene.
Track 2 of each one,
just like it just has this sort of like mysterious sort of like Mission Impossible sort of like you've got to get it done sort of thing or you're dead. I don't know. I loved it.
Like
if you have to listen to it again, it just reminds of being like in the middle of not a battle, like a battlefield war, but in the middle of a clandestine sort of Soviet era, battle of wits, where you're trying to get out of a POW camp, or you're trying to escape from a gulag or something like that. I always love that track. So,
is there anything you want to mention more on, like likes, dislikes, or anything before we move on, Glenn?
I don't need to mention any more on that because I'm good with that.
Because you have a lot more knowledge as to me. Do you want to run us through some spin-offs and conversions?
Well, I will. The good thing about Crackdown is I had a small but pretty good selection of spin-offs. Now, I will not mention the Mega Drive game again at all, because I don't think we need to. It's a great game in its own right. In my opinion, not as good as the arcade game. It does have a few changes here and there level-wise. Here I am mentioning it when I said I wouldn't. But I won't go into detail on that. But it says, if you like the arcade game and you want to pick up Mega Drive game, it's quite cheap now you can get. Anyway, but I will talk about the computer versions now because they're worth mentioning.
In fact, the Commodore 64
version. At least one, maybe 2 to 3 versions of that game are actually better than the Mega Drive version. It's a way, in my opinion. Crackdown was released on 6 different formats. In the UK, it was released by US Gold. Now, US Gold is a well-known developer at the time. Anyone in England will know who US Gold are. It was released on...
Anyone in England over the age of 30, probably.
35, maybe. Christ, jeez, God, I'm showing the age, I tell you. But US Gold, I also have to mention the cover art, so don't you let me forget this, because I've got to mention the cover art of the European computer versions, mine. But we had a version for the Spectrum, Amstrad, and Commodore 64. 3 different versions. Spectrum and Amstrad did the best they could with what they could, I thought, but they don't really capture the feel of the arcade game too much, in that they don't have very many different enemy types for a start, so it does really take away from the element of like discovery and trying to find out how to face a new foe or how to overcome a new challenge. But the levels are generally very, very faithful to the coin-op machine, which I thought was excellent. But I believe the Spectrum version's levels and sprites are actually lifted from the arcade coin-op, if I remember right, probably through an Atari ST, which is what was done back in 1990.
Is it black and white, or does it have colour?
It's in colour, but the levels are like monochrome colour, so you've got single-coloured levels.
Yeah. But
there's only 2 or 3 enemy types, where Amstrad version's in beautiful colour, and it's very, very luscious. But it's only got 2 enemy types. I mean, you fight like high Thors and regular enemy soldiers, and that's it.
Are all the conversions sharing the same split-screen format as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the stick to format, they generally stay faithful to what Crackdown would be if you stripped it down to like an 8-bit machine.
Yeah, right.
The Commodore 64 version, even though it received some mixed reviews, now I'm a Commodore fan, as my brother is, but I am being serious when I say this, but that the Commodore version, I think, is excellent for what it is. It captures like many of the different enemy types are there. It misses out the mandrills, and I'm assuming yours. That's the dogs and the ape characters. If you haven't been listening to the whole podcast, but for the different types of enemy soldiers, they're nearly always there. Every single type, mostly just palette swaps, but they fight in their different ways as well, or they move in their different ways, which I thought was very clever for the machine. That's
for limited RAM.
Absolutely.
If you can even have some sort of differences in the characters, something like that's really well done. To be honest.
Absolutely. There's versions for the 16-bit machines, which is the PC, Amiga, and Atari ST. Now, the Atari ST version, which I'm going to say out of all 6 versions is the most complete and probably most accomplished, because even though it doesn't sound exactly like the arcade machine, the graphics are very close. They've been lifted from the arcade machine again, but like obviously colours have been lost and that, and the animation's been lost a bit. But if you like the arcade game and you'd play the Mega Drive game and then you play the Atari ST version, you'd probably actually prefer the ST. The game is complete. All the levels of the arcade game are there with no real exception apart from the final battle being different, but I'll get to that very shortly. The Amiga version, which is near identical to the ST apart from a change in music and sound effects, actually falls down its backside because a major bug during development, which I experienced, meant that the final level doesn't exist. So you buy the Amiga game.
Huge calamity, that,
it's massive. And I bought the original big box Amiga version and I experienced this myself and thought now of it. But every version after that is fucked, basically, due to a mastering error. So that's what it is.
Mr. Developer, whoever it was, if you want a chance to explain yourself,
shout out to Arc Developments. Arc Developments.
Drop us an email at contact@gamingonthebrain.com and let's get you on for a chat about that one, because that would be good.
Well, there's been a fix done here and there where I think that either the last level's been reinstated using the Atari ST version, or they found the level on the disc and managed to fix the pathway to it. But like I said, just to mention it again, the actual developer was Arc Developments. But the PC version, which is a good version, it's a very good version and faithful, but comically enough, it ends at level 15, which leads me to believe that the guy who made, because it is a guy who made the Amiga, the PC version.
One person converted it.
Yeah. What he was given to convert this game was a little Amiga conversion on a disc, so he's used that. He hasn't had access to an arcade machine or access to arcade graphics code or assets, and he's then used that Amiga version to make the game. And because he couldn't create an ending, because there's no ending, then he's basically ended the game at level 15, which makes sense. So that's the 6 versions, but I want to just mention one more thing about those versions, just because for the most part the game's quite close. There's only 1 or 2 enemy types not there in either version. And the enemies that are there do generally appear where they should appear. But the last battle is very different on some of the versions. For instance, I'll list the Commodore version last because it's comical. The Atari, I can't do the Amiga and PC, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But the Atari ST will start at the top. I'll be quick. The Atari ST version, when you get to the final chamber, because you know me and Mark have had a right little powwow about this. You'd enjoy it more. We've had this little powwow about the final battle.
Use of super bombs.
It's better, honest. It's great. In fact, it's really well done. What happens in the final chamber? There's no dizzy metal.
Oh well,
dizzy metal's gone.
That's an absolute improvement straight away.
It is. What you've got instead is you walk into the final chamber and you're faced with 12 mad murderers, 6 at the top and 6 at the bottom, all in sort of like a regimental formation. So they start walking around the room trying to shoot you. But in the meantime, Mr. K's tapping away at his console in his little room, his office. And at any time during this game, which should have probably happened in the arcade game, really, you can shoot the doors to his office.
Right.
It takes about 10 rockets, right? You have to shoot them a lot. So you can blow one up each individually. So you can take out the rockets and then go in.
Take out his doors.
He doesn't even move this time. So he stays at his console.
Does he laugh?
Doesn't have a gun. He doesn't have anything. He just goes
doesn't
shoot.
Have a voice.
Doesn't have nothing. He has no life. But it means whoever gets into the room quicker gets him. Right. So that's a total different to the arcade, which I thought was unusual that everything else was so accurate.
You can't kill him with a super bomb.
No, I never tried it. I don't think you need it.
Right.
But it said you literally blow the doors off.
So you've probably never beaten anyone else to him because he didn't have to use a super bomb.
So I might have to try it someday, I think.
It sounds like a challenge.
The Spectrum and Amstrad are similar and quite sad in that, there's just a few sold. When you get to the final chamber, there's just random. Remember, there's only about 2 enemy types, so there's random enemies just walking around the room, including his room and the area, and the doors aren't even there, and he's not there. He just couldn't be asked to turn up. Couldn't be asked to turn
No,
up.
there's no Dr. Mystic
No,
here.
no,
whatever
you just
it is.
walk. You just go through the doors because they're open, and you just walk out the back. You know the back where you could. You want to go now. You just walk out the back window, completely level, and that's the same for the Amstrad and the Specky. But the Commodore 64 has to have special mention, and this is what makes it so amazing.
I'm wondering here, am I going to remember this or not?
You have to see it. You want to play this.
I don't know if I've played it, but I don't know if I've ever been near the end.
Well, the Commodore uses a similar logic to the Spectrum and Amstrad initially, in that you've got enemies walking around the area, but the doors are sealed, if I remember right, or they might not be, but I can't remember. But Mr. K's there, and he's a white soldier, and he's just walking
So he's
around.
a pallet swap.
Yeah, he's a pallet swap soldier, and he's just got a gun like everyone else. And he's just literally, he leaves his little chamber and just toddles off somewhere. I've had it a few times where he just ran off into the middle of the arena somewhere and we've never seen him again.
All right.
It was great because I played it a few times. I obviously completely get some. But I just thought it was really funny, wrong, but funny and clever how they just did that. But overall, the 6 versions of Crackdown, other than the Amiga for obvious reasons, really, I won't blame the PC version. But the Amiga really is a bit disappointing itself of what it is. But the other 5 versions, good games, good conversions as well in what they are. Specky and Amstrad, bit disappointing name there, but worth a play if you like your very old computer 8-bit conversions.
To release a version that's missing the entire last level, you've got to wonder what was the QC check level like back then.
Very bad in that day and age, which we know by some of Mastertronic stuff.
That is, I mean, either the game was that difficult that whoever made it couldn't complete the game himself to actually get the QC check done, or it just didn't give a shit. Now, I would love to speak to this person. So if he is out there and he wants to put his side across,
we know he worked for Arc Developments.
Get in touch by all means. We'll give you a fair trial.
I think it's review time, Mark.
It is, mate. I think it is. Yeah. And look, I think you go first this time because I went first last time.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give Crackdown an 8.5 out of 10 because it's a game. It's a great game. It's slightly flawed because and it is by design. It's a game, like I said, where you need to memorise paths and you need to memorise how to fight things. So once you've done it once and you've done it twice and 3 times, it stops being as enjoyable. And I mean, I think, when people use the term rose-tinted glasses, for me, Crackdown really is a rose-tinted glasses game for me because it's a game where I loved more then than I do now. I still like it a lot. I have a lot of affection for it and I'll never have a problem with that, but where areas Golden Axe, which we use as a good example, I just love all the time. I'll go in and play Golden Axe now and just like enjoy it. Crackdown is a little bit less enjoyable because I've got to think about it again. Where, I mean, again, it's by design and you've got to give it props for being what it was, which of course is an arcade-based game. Again, 8.5, solid review. Not a perfect game, a very good game, and a game that I've loved for all my life. For most of my life, but a game that I'm quite happy to just put by the wayside for the moment. Maybe come back to it just once every now and again. I mean, to add to that on a positive note, out of that review though, I would love to see a remake of Crackdown. It's a one game where I would like to see it.
I'd like to see a multiplayer
changed.
Xbox Live Arcade, like type.
Yeah, like a team-based, where you maybe got a group of guys who all going at it and all having to plant bombs together and whatnot, or objectives.
Not to be stuck in 2006 here, but it's like how Microsoft and Sega brought back some of their like Street Invasion stuff and let you play them online. I think having the ability to, I know you can do it over RetroArch and stuff like that, but having the ability to play online with somebody else elsewhere in the world and play 2-player, that would be a nice touch.
Yeah.
Just you don't even have to polish up the graphics really or anything. It still looks good to this day.
I don't. Going by all the material I've read and like reading up on past reviews and just what people talk, Crackdown wasn't actually a very popular game.
No, I know.
It wasn't. It's not an unknown game. It's not what I would call an obscure Sega game. It could be considered an obscure game, but not an obscure Sega game. If you're a Sega fan, you would know what Crackdown is.
This is why I'm going to remind ourselves when we do the introduction next to not say Sega smash hit or anything like that. Because it's not really.
No, well, again, going back to Sega in general, just we've probably hit like a Sega thing because we've just been, a few of them have been like.
They've been some of our best arcade games.
We're not, it's like just for the podcast here, we're not actually Sega fanatics either. We
No, not at
love
all.
we love all the
And
companies,
it
you
won't
know.
be just arcade games either.
Yeah, there's just been a few games here that have popped up where it's been Sega games that we've just had a lot of love for, you know.
Spoiler alert, and a slight hint, but it won't be a Sega game next. It could be a certain Atari game where you fight in pits.
Yes,
So we'll see. But are you done with your review?
I am, mate.
I'm going to give mine. Now, you loved this game more than me back in the arcade because I remember you getting all wet over it. But I did enjoy it. And I admit this week, going back and playing it again, I've enjoyed playing it. But I know, and I knew then and I know now, it's not without its frustrations. And I'm taking on board what you said earlier about, it's an arcade game. And it's allowed to have those moments where it should rob you of a few credits, okay, which fair enough, right? So thinking about that, I enjoy the gameplay. Like I said before, the best thing I enjoy about it is the actual gameplay mechanics. The combat, I think, is really good.
Yeah.
You can easily find yourself stuck in a corner, not being able to get out of it, and have to figure out a way to get out of it without dying. Now, when you're playing on MAME, which is the only way I can play it at the moment, who gives a shit if you die? But if it's your 10 pence in the arcade, or 50 pence now, more likely, then you would definitely give a shit about dying, and you would make you think harder about having to get out of that hole. And I think for that, the game should get a plus for that, because that's a good thing, I think. So, look, sound, graphics, music, all of that, it's a plus all day long.
Yeah, definitely.
The minor frustrations, knock a point off easy for me. The fact that, again, like I said last week on the Golden Axe episode, I can't give this too high of a mark because I know we've got some absolute amazing games coming up that we need to reserve those 10s for, you know. Otherwise, we'll have to create an 11 out of 10, which just wouldn't be right. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7.5. And that might be a little bit harsh, maybe a 7.8.
No, but it just proves, though, that
But I don't want
it's not a perfect game, you know, and this is maybe the reason why it didn't do so well in arcades and obviously with their consumers and fans and that.
Well, I was reading...
It's flawed, you know?
Yeah, I was reading this... I can't remember what website I was reading on, but I was doing a little bit of research for the podcast, and I was reading that upon release in the arcades, it got, I think it was 7.5 to 8, again, by critics. And they were rewarding its tight gameplay, good mechanics and stuff like that. And I think a lot of the negatives were about the split screen format and how like the screen's small and stuff. I mean, that's not a problem when you're playing it on like a 50-inch TV or something, but
I think it's flawed by just the nature of being an arcade game, you know. You know, with a couple of cheap deaths even there.
Absolutely,
yeah. Like the cheap deaths, I mean, a couple of, I know not many, but like that's why I cannot really review it badly, because if that was absolutely in the design, which I believe it would have been, then to me that's almost like a 10.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't, you know, but like
you can't review it as though you were the developer. Though.
Aye, that's it. You've got, and in this day and age, we still need to look at it. See, the thing is, it's like saying you and me now, we're going to review Street Fighter 2, like Street Fighter 2 from 1991. Now, obviously, if we reviewed Street Fighter 2 back in 1991, I know, but like you'd say, well, hang about, if you give Street Fighter 2 10 out of 10, what do you give Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition? What do you give Street Fighter 2 Turbo? Type of, you know, Super Street Fighter.
The review is in the moment, though, isn't it? It's like, yeah. So when Street Fighter 2 Championship
there's
Edition
too much
came
criteria.
Along, that would be the 10 out of 10, because obviously it had more characters, had extra, modes, that kind of stuff. But yeah, as of now, at the moment, I think it's a 7.5 for me. I did say a 7.5.
You did,
yeah. 7.5 feels right. I think if those little minor frustrations weren't there with the trap rooms, it would have been an 8. But 7.5's fair. It's a good game. But what I would like to say is, if you are a fan of Crackdown, then Glenn, I can't think of any in particular, but I'm going to ask you, do you have any recommendations for other games that you might want to play that similar?
Oh, Christ, well, I do actually, aye. Obviously coming a bit later. Again, the thing about Crackdown is, first remember, it's more, to me, of a stealth 'em up than a shoot 'em up.
Yeah, so we're talking Metal Gear.
We are.
Like the old Metal Gear.
So as Mark said at the start of the segment, though, it's almost like a bit of an amalgamation of a few different genres.
It's a Bomberman / Metal Gear /
you will insist on using
Gauntlet.
Bomberman.
I mentioned
it's like,
earlier.
Obviously, if the thing is say, for instance, let's just generalize it as like a top-down shooter for a second, but that isn't Commando. Then obviously you might like things like Alien Breed.
Yeah, Alien Syndrome, Alien Breed.
Alien Syndrome, but more like, again, Alien Breed.
Chaos Engine.
Chaos Engine, yeah.
Loaded.
But see where we're going with this. So these games are still close to the Gauntlet template.
Yeah.
But that shows how unique Crackdown sort of is, really. I said that's why
it is.
It moves more towards the Metal Gear or stealth 'em up style.
That's why I struggled to put it in a genre. I mean, I would have had this written down, like what genre it is, but I was like, I can't put it in a hole.
Yeah, I mean, there was a classic game on the old computers called Into the Eagle's Nest, things like that, as well. Again, a little bit of Gauntlet there, but a little bit of stealth as well. I mean, you could argue Rambo 3 on the computer. You could say where you've got like the top-down sections. It's like where it's got a bit more stealth than just shooting everything. It's very difficult to put Gauntlet into put Crackdown into a single genre as far as like what it actually does, But like I said, or the best advice I would give if you haven't played the game is definitely don't just approach it like you're playing Crackdown, playing Gauntlet.
Yeah, you get shot.
Don't go into it just playing Gauntlet. It's just not that type of game at all. I mean, if you like that game, then there's definitely no harm in giving it a try, but you're looking at a very different style of pace.
You need to learn the enemies, you need to learn the attack patterns, you need to learn the best way to navigate the environment, and at the same time,
in fact,
just be patient.
Well, to put a reverse on what I've just said, because I find Bonanza Brothers was the more well-known game.
Yeah.
The later game, which I still, like I've just said again at the very start of the segment, I consider Bonanza Brothers to be basically the sequel, almost semi-sequel. So if you like that game and you like the way that game plays, then think of Crackdown as a top-down version of that game. So you might get away with that game very well. Actually.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And one other thing to link the two, minor thing, the doors. When you open the doors and it kills, you can do that on Crackdown.
You can, but they just die on Crackdown with it splatting against the wall.
I found, before we finish off here, sorry to keep rambling on, I found a nice little glitch the other day. You've probably come across it yourself in the arcade. But if you open the door, just as the enemy's about to walk into the door, and it doesn't kill him, and you let the door close, he's just stuck running at the same point forever.
I've never seen that.
No, I found it the other day. I should have recorded for any video episodes.
It's almost like the infamous Genesis Double Dragon glitch, isn't it?
Oh, God, aye. Oh,
Willie of the Tree stuff.
We'll
try and catch that one day,
Now, we need to spend hours replicating it.
Yeah,
but,
we'll get there.
Look, I think we're just about done now, mate.
Yeah.
I think
I've enjoyed it.
I have. Everyone, thank you very much for listening, especially if you've got this far. We appreciate the support. As we always say, please get in touch, drop us a comment, subscribe to the channel, leave us a review on the podcast. You can contact
suggestions.
You can contact us at contact@gamingonthebrain.com if you want to drop us an email privately. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, so look for us on there. You should be able to find us, no problem. We'll leave us a comment, and what we will be starting to do is reading out people's comments in the introduction. So if you want your name mentioned, you want to have a chat with us on there, get in touch. And look, like I said, thank you very much for the support, guys, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks now.
Take care.
Bye all. Bye.
Bye.